The ICC is no doubt familiar to some of you. It is an organization which was founded in 1919 with a mission really to promote trade and investment worldwide as a means of fostering peace and prosperity. The World Trade Agenda is an initiative we're launching with an initial conference of CEOs who are assembled here today at the WTO to help define what business considers should be the priorities going forward for trade negotiations. My colleagues will talk a little more detail on that aspect of our work, but basically this is the beginning of a process which we see being sustained over the next 2 or 3 years to influence governments on what the negotiations will look like going forward with the situation of the Doha round and the alternatives which are being put forward. Business wants to be part of that process in an active way, and the ICC is mobilizing CEOs from around the world to do that.
When Pascal Lamy came to the G20 summit in Cannes, beginning of December last year, he told us that to resume the multilateral negotiations, the new approach to be defined should be built with serious contribution from the private sector, from the business, from the civil society, as we said in France. And now we are launching really the steps of that agenda, which, as Jean-Guy said, are designed to have a positive contribution to this necessary definition of a new approach, of a more flexible approach of the multilateral rule. The first step of this agenda is today, this conference where we have something like 85 people, CEO, experts of the subject. The second one will be in Las Cabos in June, because we will present the first set of thoughts about trade for the G20 in Mexico country in June. And we are chairing the working group which is already at work for the preparation of the Business 20 and the G20 meetings.
While governments have been driving the World Trade Agenda up to now, it is time that we really now revert to the business community, the real users, and indeed the beneficiaries of the global trading system, to speak out. What are their needs? To really think about setting the agenda, for the global trade agenda from a bottoms-up basis. And the ICC, given our tradition of 90 years plus of history and our global coverage, is in an ideal position to actually do this. I think, in a sense, the liberalization of trade and continuation of the strengthening of the multilateral trading system is one of the most important confidence measures I can think of that doesn't involve, frankly, borrowing more money and printing more money. And that's really what the world needs at this juncture.
The current economic conditions that the advanced world faces. We've gone through an economic downturn, that has been devastating to the achievement of growth and job creation, prosperity, standards of living, and people are fearful, and there's a lot of uncertainty with that kind of fearfulness. And as Victor said, I think that one of the things that we've got to find is our ability to get our confidence back, to get our swagger back, and to be able to get going. And one of the things that is going to be an integral part of that is going to be our trade and investment agenda. The voice of business, both in terms of its strength and its aggregation, needs to step up. This isn't about individual companies trying to get certain kinds of rules that are going to benefit their own particular needs. This is an aggregate voice that has to say we need to work with our collective governments, as equal partners in terms of pushing this direction. So, from our standpoint, trade investment is a key part of achieving economic growth. And therefore, of all the things that we're looking for in terms of the job creation and prosperity and the like, this is one major area that we have got to improve upon, and we need collective leadership in order to get it done.
I think it's a very welcome signal of global business stepping in at a very crucial moment for the multilateral trade system. If you look back at the sort of last 10 years, the voice of business in the multilateral trading system hasn't been that loud. Probably, by the way, because overall things were doing reasonably fine. All your companies, all your businesses have, until the crisis, quite nicely expanded internationally, not only because of the differential growth between emerging countries and developed countries. Now, of course, the crisis has triggered a very different situation, a very different picture, which is why, again, welcome back. As Victor said, the main threat for the moment is protectionism. And we know that these difficult economic and social conditions which the crisis has led to have increased protectionist pressures. They are there, we know them, and after all, nothing unexpected in this. What matters is not the existence of protectionist pressures. What matters is when governments cede to these pressures and start protecting trade. It hasn't happened big way so far. The export content of imports has moved on average from 20% worldwide 20 years ago to 40% today. That's the big transformation of world trade. And this is why it's more and more obvious as this proportion increases that if you start shooting on your imports, the only thing serious you're doing is shooting on your export, deteriorating the competitiveness of your economy, hence the capacity of your economy to create jobs. We need the voice of business at this crucial time for one simple reason, is that when grand visions, when grand plans, when grand agreements are not in sight, and they are not in sight, as we all know, we have to go back to basics, to things which really matter, not for 30 years from now, for tomorrow, for next week, for next month. And I think the most sensitive constituency to that is business, which is why, again, we will keep spending time with you, and we are very thankful for this sort of vigorous effort which you are starting here today.